Hey there and welcome back to Mass Effect 2. My name is Pete, and contrary to what I said in the last episode, today we complete Jacob's loyalty mission, The Gift of Greatness. You might remember that I talked about starting the Firewalker DLC in the last video, but the missions in that DLC are spread all over the place, and I think we might want to tackle that later when we have explored a bit more of the galaxy. I have installed a much smaller DLC for this episode though, namely the 3 Dr. Pepper promotional items, 3 armor items for Shepard's head. There are a lot more of these armor and weapon DLCs, and we will begin to introduce them one after the other, starting small with this one. And I think that is enough introduction for today. Let's get to it.
Commander, you've received a new message at your private terminal.
Kelly informs us about new messages, and let's check those out right away, even though they are only the item descriptions of the 3 new armor pieces that we have obtained by installing the DLC. The first is the Umbra Visor, a night vision device that helps with biotic and omni-tool attacks. In gameplay terms, it boosts tech and biotic powers. Up next, we have the Recon Hood, designed for Cerberus covert operatives and allowing Shepard to keep his face hidden. Additionally, microframe functions are also being mentioned, even though it remains unclear at this point what that actually means. Item number 3 is then the Sentry Interface Visor, which has onboard processors to manage shield strength and therefore offers a little extra protection. We will take a closer look at all of these items in just a few seconds, but for now we can archive all 3 messages and then take the elevator up to our captain's cabin. Inside we can head over to the armor locker in the back and see what we just obtained. At the moment, Shepard has the Kuwashi visor equipped. It looks decent and gives a 10% bonus to headshot damage. This right here is now the Sentry interface, visually very similar, but offering a different bonus, namely plus 5% to shield strength. Not bad at all, but we have more. This is the Umbra Visor. I'll admit it looks a bit goofy, and the bonus to power damage is also not too useful for us in the soldier class, so I think we can safely skip over to the Recon Hood. And I'll be honest, I absolutely adore the look of this thing, and the description here also now reveals what it does. It gives us a 5% bonus to weapon damage, and I'd say let's go with that. It is debatable whether a 10% bonus to headshot damage is more useful than this, but in the grand scheme of things, it probably won't make that much of a difference. On our way out, we can quickly feed the fish as well, and then head back down and fire up the galaxy map.
Grunt seems very agitated. You may want to check in on him.
Kelly informs us of Grunt, who's waiting to give us his loyalty mission, but we'll ignore that for now and instead continue exploring the galaxy. From the Solveig system in the Calston Rift, we now travel to what is, at least for now, the 4th and final system in this cluster, the Aeia system. The first planet we can scan is Dranen, a gas giant with 44 moons, but sadly without any mineral deposits worth mentioning. You can get a few thousand units of palladium, platinum and iridium here, but nothing that will blow you away. The extremely hot planet Agnin, meanwhile, is much more interesting in that regard, as it offers not only a substantial amount of platinum, but also up to 15,000 units of iridium, so stopping by for some probing is definitely worth it. If your need for iridium is then still not satisfied, I recommend visiting the dwarf planet Shazu, where you should be able to mine additional 15,000 units, alongside a healthy amount of platinum and some palladium as well. Now, if you are by any chance still not satisfied at that point, then feel free to fire a few probes at the icy surface of Sheer. Just like on the 2 planets before, you will be rewarded with tons of iridium and with high amounts of platinum and palladium as well. The mining or probing spree has to come to an end at some point though, and the gas giant Alformus is probably that place. No mineral is present with anything more than a moderate deposit here, so I recommend skipping this one entirely. If you are primarily looking for palladium instead of iridium, then the remote ice planet of Tamgauta might be a good target, as you should easily be able to find more than 15,000 units worth of the stuff here. The other minerals are sowed a bit more sparingly, however. And that completes our tour through the Calston Rift for now. Once we install the Firewalker DLC, we will find another system in here, but for the time being we can head back to the Battle system to make our exit. Before we jump through the mass relay, let's quickly refuel the Normandy back up to capacity, and then we can travel over to the currently still completely unexplored Rosetta Nebula, where Jacob's loyalty mission will take place. We arrive in the Enoch system, but we will not spend any time here whatsoever. There is a mission available here that we will take care of probably in the next episode, but for now we can fly to the Alpha Draconis system. And while we do, a quick refresher on why we're actually here.
My father was first officer on a ship that went missing 10 years ago. I had not talked to him for 3 years prior. His ship, the Hugo Gernsback, sent an SOS last week, reporting a crash and a request for rescue. Just like that, out of the black. I also want to note that it's not normal procedure for distress calls to be routed to the Normandy. This was passed to my personal log through Cerberus filters.
So, we are looking for Jacob's father, who vanished roughly 10 years ago, and whose ship has just now sent a mysterious distress call from this very system. Before we investigate, we make a quick stop at the first of only 2 planets here, 2175 AR2, a gas giant that can safely be skipped when it comes to mining, as it does not hold any sizable mineral deposits. And with that, let's move on to 2175 Aeia, the planet from where the distress signal originated.
I have detected an anomaly.
MSV Hugo Gernsback, registration BW4610034087. Impact and unscheduled suborbital deceleration recorded. General distress. MSV Hugo Gernsback, registration.
Something on our sensors.
We find the signal quickly and send out a probe, and if you want to do some mining, feel free to send out a few more, because not only are there high amounts of platinum to be found here, the planet also has a small element 0 deposit. Much more important than that, however, is the quest it offers, so let's assemble our squad and touch down in search of Jacob's father. Jacob himself is of course logged in as a squad member, and since combat in this mission is not going to be too hard, let's hunt for another achievement and bring Thane along, so that Jacob's pull and Thane's warp can cause a few nice warp detonations, working towards the tactician achievement. Jacob also hasn't seen a lot of action lately, leaving him with 8 squad points to spend, and will use those to max out and evolve his pull ability. For the ability evolution, we can then choose between heavy pull and pull field. Heavy pull increases the duration that pull keeps a single target in the air, rendering it helpless for 12 whole seconds, while pull field expands the ability's area of effect, allowing it to hit multiple targets. And in my opinion, this is a no-brainer. Pull field is the one we're going with, as it transforms pull into an excellent crowd control ability, and the duration of 9 seconds is still substantial and not that much worse compared to heavy pull. 1 point remains that we can't do anything with, so let's take a look at Thane, who is in a similar situation, and the same goes for Shepard as well, so let's move on to weapon selection, where we can also only confirm our current loadout, even though the grenade or the rocket launcher might be moderately useful in this mission.
I detect no life signs, but there may be useful technology or information still inside.
There it is, and mostly intact. They could have survived impact, but it's been years. Looks like it was stripped after the crash. They'd have tried to get a beacon up as soon as possible.
Alright, we found the ship, but no survivors yet, although there is a log entry here that we can listen to.
Along with us anymore. We've done horrible things to the crew. The conditions they're in, they don't understand what we're doing to them. Distract them for 2 seconds and they forget what you did before the bruises show. It's got to stop. I'm talking to the others as soon as...
We learn about horrible things done to the crew, something to do with forgetfulness. Maybe we can learn more by investigating the inside of the ship.
She even threatened to report if I didn't stop sending messages. But now she's so innocent. They all are. And the look she gives when she smiles. It's sure easier now.
This sounds like a slightly more positive perspective on the events, even though it still remains unclear what happened. Before we continue listening in, let's quickly hack the PDA over here for 3000 credits, and then we can continue with the next log entry.
You can't expect the luxury of due process, but this isn't a military ship. Just bumping the command line up a notch doesn't work. Captain Fairchild knew this crew. His replacement doesn't command the same level of respect. I'm hoping the man has it in him.
Sounds here like the captain got replaced and the chain of command turned a bit more strict in the process. Maybe this last entry here reveals more.
What was her name? Sarah? Suzanne? My God, I can't remember her face. We need to get out so I can remember, can think straight. They have to hurry.
And again, we hear about people being unable to remember things, and it sounds like something in this place causes it, resulting in a growing desire to get out.
Repeat, toxology alert. Danger of rapid neural decay. Local flora chemically incompatible with human physiology. Override. Beacon resumed. Pause time, 8 years, 237 days, 7 hours.
After grabbing some spare parts, we locate a VI talking about the dangers of the local flora. Let's see if we can find out more.
From the look of it, this beacon's been here a while. Why would they wait years to signal?
Pause in beacon protocol. 8 years, 237 days, 7 hours. Pause is recorded as record deleted by Acting Captain Ronald Taylor.
That's not right. My father was first officer.
Ronald Taylor was promoted under emergency command protocols. Other flagged issues: unsafe deceleration, local food and neural decay, beacon activation protocols.
Alright, the VI lists a number of troubling issues here, but let's start with what seems like the most important thing and ask about the location of the crew.
Who's in command of this ship? Where are the survivors?
Captain Harris Fairchild reported killed following unscheduled suborbital descent. First Officer Ronald Taylor promoted in-field to acting captain.
But where is he now?
The location of the remaining crew of the Hugo Gernsback is unknown. This beacon has been unattended for several maintenance cycles.
Considering the wreckage right behind us, it's probably also a good idea to learn about the reasons for the crash, so let's ask about that next.
I assume unsafe deceleration refers to the crash. Give me the details.
Following an unspecified impact and sublight drive failure, the Hugo Gernsback made an unscheduled descent at 465% of theoretical recommended suborbital velocity. The Hugo Gernsback then decelerated at 782% of theoretical recommended approach velocity, sustaining significant damage to investment and crew.
Still, it looks like some of the crew survived, so why was the beacon inactive for 10 whole years before finally transmitting a distress signal?
Why wasn't the beacon activated before now?
This emergency beacon became functional after 358 days, 12 hours. Following the unscheduled suborbital descent of the Hugo Gernsback, activation was triggered remotely after 8 years, 237 days, 7 hours, on the authority of Acting Captain Ronald Taylor. Pause in beacon protocol is recorded as record deleted.
Okay, seems like the beacon was operational much earlier than it actually started transmitting. Maybe the delay was caused by the local food the VI mentioned, so let's learn more about that.
Local food impairs brain functions? What are the effects?
Impairment of mental function due to chemical imbalance begins within 7 days of ingesting local flora, regardless of decontamination or preparation. Impact on higher cognitive abilities and long-term memory is cumulative, but significant within a standard month. It is not known if neural decay is permanent. Data collection was not completed.
Alright, that would explain the spreading forgetfulness, but not necessarily the delay in the activation of the beacon, nor the experiments that we heard about in the first log entry. Still, it's all we can get here, so let's move on.
Come on, let's get going.
My father had a working beacon, but didn't signal for almost 9 years. Maybe that neural decay affected him.
I doubt that ship carried 10 years worth of food.
You came? From the sky? The leader said someone would come. He delayed for so long, but he still has power. Some have lost faith. The hunters. They will have seen your star. They will not let you help him.
Now, time for our first morality points of the mission, and we want to go with the option at the top for 2 Paragon points and calm down this woman who, at least for now, doesn't make a lot of sense.
What are you talking about? You're not making sense.
I don't remember how to say it. He's our leader and we serve so we can go home. But some want to fight him. They were cast out. He exiled them, so they hunt his machines and those who help him. They don't believe that rescue will come.
Watch out!
Hunters, they won't stop until the leader is dead.
Kill them! Agents of the liar! He will not escape!
Alright, with a Paragon Interrupt for 5 Paragon points, we ensure the woman's survival and begin our first firefight of the episode. And we immediately start things off with one of many warp detonations that you'll see in this video. First we remove the enemy's shields, then we hit him with Jacob's pull, and once that has triggered, we launch a warp with Thane to cause a nice warp detonation. Every single one of these will count towards the Tactician achievement. We started the episode with 12 detonations already performed, and we only need 20 total to unlock the achievement. Apart from counting towards the achievement, the warp detonation is actually also very useful in this fight, because it causes damage to all units around. And this fight very much follows the principle of quantity over quality, meaning that we have a lot of weak units clustered closer together, which makes them vulnerable to these area of effect attacks. Still, just because they don't have a lot of protection and are killed easily doesn't mean that we should not take them seriously. Especially on Insanity difficulty, anything with a gun can do a significant amount of damage if we're not careful, and large numbers of enemies, no matter how easy to kill, should be handled with care and ideally from cover. And with that, the second to last enemy falls. One more is hidden behind the gas tank in the back, but it took me a while to notice that. We finished the fight with 3 warp detonations and should now collect some ammo, because we will meet more resistance soon. Before we leave, let's also salvage some more parts for credits here.
Neural decay doesn't quite cover the reality of it.
My father wouldn't let this go on. Something is very wrong.
Up on the path ahead of us, we can then find a stripped mech, which triggers a few more lines from Jacob.
Strip for parts. Tech's wearing out. Those hunters must be laying on the pressure. Is that a settlement? They'd better be friendlier than the beach group. I need answers.
They have the same uniform as our attackers. Definitely not as aggressive, though.
And very interestingly, something that can be overlooked if it wasn't a dialogue option, all members of this camp are female, while our attackers were exclusively men.
There aren't any men here. Maybe it affects genders differently. Makes males get violent?
Possibly. But the female on the beach said the exiled ones came back as hunters.
It doesn't matter right now. One of these people must know what my father has to do with this.
You have his face. He promised to call the sky, but he sends nothing.
He forced us to eat, to decay. You are cursed with his face.
And while we could now accuse Jacob of poor conversation skills, it is fairly obvious that the problem lies elsewhere, and that is a big cause for concern.
Not the best reaction to the family resemblance, Jacob.
Why would my father force his crew to eat toxic food? Whatever's happening here needs to stop. Look at these spoiled food stores. They've been eating only that toxic local food for who knows how long. Like that wasn't obvious enough.
He has a cruel face. His cruel face.
Go away. You are like him. You will keep us here.
I can't talk to you. I don't want punishing.
What the hell? Somebody had to push them to make that. That's borderline worship.
He keeps us, protects us, and we please him like he demands. The hunters will kill you. They fight because he exiled them and waited too long.
He is bad. He has a bad face like the other. Like him. You'll hurt me.
Alright, after all of these bits, it sure seems like Jacob's father plays a prominent role in whatever horrible thing is going on here. Before we continue, we can quickly loot the place and recover a medkit, some spare parts and a PDA holding credits, before we want to get into cover as a small group of Loki mechs is attacking. We can once again set off a warp detonation, which already takes out a good portion of the attackers, before we then wait for the last stragglers and swiftly eliminate them as well.
Even Terminus pirate clans rarely kill their own crew to enforce discipline.
Well, that would make them hate him. But maybe it was just for defense.
Please, here. You could end it.
And this seems to be the first person we're running into who is willing and still able to talk to us, and since she's asking for our help, she might be able to provide a few answers.
You have his face, but you fight his machines. You might stop this. This, I forget how to read, but this was the start. What he promised, and what they did to us. We need the sky. Take us back to the sky.
Jacob is taking his time, and we can obtain 2 renegade points for a friendly reminder that there are others interested as well.
Think on your own time. What's in there?
It's a crew logbook. Some of them thought the beacon repair was taking too long. They were afraid they'd run out of supplies and lose their minds to the decay. My father restricted the ship food for himself and the other officers so they wouldn't be affected. Everybody else had to eat the toxic food and hope for treatment later. The rest is a casualty list. A few mutinied over the decision. My father and his officers turned the mechs on them.
Alright, seems like we're slowly shedding some light on what happened, and it doesn't paint a great picture of Jacob's father, to say the least, and for 2 Paragon points we can also state as much.
He wasn't command material and it got to him. Couldn't keep the crew in line without violence.
It didn't stop there. More incidents, harsh punishments. It's like they're cattle, or toys. In a year, all the male crew members are flagged as exiled or dead. They separated out the women, assigned them to officers, like pets. And after the beacon is fixed, the officers appear in the casualties too. After. My father took control and didn't stop it.
Well, even though things already sound pretty horrifying, let's ask a few more questions, starting with the officers Jacob mentioned, because so far we haven't seen a single one of them.
We haven't seen any other officers. He killed them?
There were 5 after the crash. Medical, engineering, bridge staff. Should have had no problem fixing the beacon and keeping people safe. All killed within the same week. About a month after the beacon was repaired.
And that might explain why the beacon remained inactive for so long even after it was repaired. Additionally, it might also be interesting to learn whether the neural decay could have been treated instead of letting it progress further and further.
Anything in there about whether the effects of the toxic food can be treated?
Nothing. But it seems like the right call. If everyone gets it, who's left to fix the beacon? You'd never get out. But they did fix it. And the signal wasn't sent until now. I'm starting to see why.
Yeah, me too, although there is still a bit of hope for a more rational explanation as to why the men and women were separated.
Does it say why he separated the men and the women? Or is it as bad as it seems?
No, it turns to gibberish. Maybe the men got violent early on, but from the state of this place, I'd say the Hunter thing is recent. What he allowed here, Shepard, I don't see any justification.
Well, to be honest, after what we just learned, it is hard to swallow, but Jacob might know his father better than we do, so let's grab 2 Paragon points and ask him for his point of view.
Do you see an explanation for this? He's your father.
Is he? None of this fits. Maybe the initial decision, but the rest? Abuse of power doesn't get any clearer than this. I need to find this man.
Alright, we have learned just about all we need to know to set our sights on finding the man behind it all. For our dialogue choices we obtain 2 Renegade and 4 Paragon points, and we can now rig this broken mech here to explode, because who wants to drag boxes around if you can just blow them up?
Right, as I must.
Right!
It will be done.
This is Captain Ronald Taylor. Thank God you're here. My crew went insane. I only just got free.
God damn it, it's really him. Just got free, he's covering his ass.
The post corpse looks like it's been here years, like a warning. These others, maybe a month.
The Hunters started fighting back.
Yeah, sounds like the Hunters were on the right track, but unfortunately Mr. Taylor still controls the mechs, which are now also after us. A perfect chance to increase our warp detonation counter to 17, as we quickly decimate this first group of 3 Loki mechs here.
He had plenty of choices. A little late to blame his victims.
And I have to agree with Jacob here. This sounds like the desperate justification of a man who knew exactly what he was doing, and that includes sending these mechs to stop us, just like he did against these so-called hunters who came before. As we advance, another small group engages, but once again nothing that we can't solve with a warp detonation and a few well-placed bullets. This area of the camp is now cleared and we can quickly collect some ammo, but we don't want to spend too much time out in the open because more mechs are attacking from further back. Over this distance, however, they are not much of a threat, and 2 accurate headshots get rid of the problem quickly. Time to move up a bit, but not too much, and let's also get everyone into cover right here, because 2 more mechs have just revealed themselves. The first one falls victim to another shot from the sniper rifle, while we can take our time with number 2, wait until its shields are down and then hit it with another warp detonation. This marks number 19, so we only need 1 more for the achievement. And now we can join our 2 comrades behind the crates here, because at this point things are getting slightly more intense, although with the right strategy we should be able to handle the next wave of enemies easily. 1 more warp detonation then finally unlocks the Tactician achievement, but we won't stop using them now. Like I said earlier, especially against these comparatively weak enemies who arrive in larger numbers, the ability is actually quite useful. And this group of mechs here does indeed fit that description rather well. There are about 10 of them, but we have good cover and they all have to squeeze through this narrow pathway, which makes taking them out a piece of cake. The sniper rifle is probably the weapon best suited for the task, although for the purpose of setting off a few more warp detonations, the assault rifle actually works a little better in my opinion, simply for its tendency to not immediately kill an enemy with a single shot.
He had his fun, and now he wants out. Son of a bitch.
Now what's this?
Once the fight is over, we can collect more credits from some salvageable parts and also find a damage upgrade for the pistol that we will gladly take. Jacob's father, meanwhile, continues to justify why the mechs are shooting at us, but at this point no one is really buying anything he says. After stocking up our ammunition, our next stop is now this set of crates over here, as we have more mechs coming in. The sniper rifle remains the weapon of choice, but I'll be honest, while I recorded this, I was not keeping count with the warp detonations, so you'll see me use the assault rifle a lot, even though things could have been solved much more smoothly with a few well-placed headshots. In any case, we want to stay right where we are until the last mech falls, which can take a while because there are multiple waves of them here, but once again they are too far away to become any sort of serious threat. Your ammunition can be used very liberally here, by the way, as there will be a chance to fully restock in just a few moments.
Backup systems engaged. Critical system damage. Failure.
It took years to train my guards. I'm afraid you'll have to fight them to rescue me.
Throwing people away. This thing is not my father.
Before we enter the next area, we can once again loot a medkit, salvage some spare parts and also grab the power cell container here. This does not only benefit our heavy weapon ammunition, but also make sure that we enter the next fight with a full magazine. And considering what lies ahead, that might not be a bad idea. For the first time in this mission, we now run into a group of men fighting for Mr. Taylor and not against him, and one of them even has the ability to deploy a combat drone. To get started, we want to make sure not to advance too far into the camp here, while simultaneously we can one-shot a few of the enemies inside with the sniper rifle. This will make the subsequent battle a little easier, because as you might be able to hear in the background, we have something heavy approaching. And it fits that Ronald Taylor, who was in charge of a large number of Loki mechs, also controls a heavy mech, and we now have to deal with that before we can continue. And that can admittedly be a bit of a challenge in this area, because as you can see, most of the cover around is fairly fragile and can be destroyed with only a few shots. This makes this large wall here in the back probably the best spot to hide behind, while we now do our best to take down the mech's shields. Both of our squad members are unfortunately not made for a head-on confrontation with an enemy like this, so they will stay in safety behind the wall for as long as they can, and then once the mech arrives and turns around the corner, they can head for the other side of the battlefield. At this point, it now also pays off that we took out most of the human enemies in the area before the mech arrived, otherwise Jacob and Thane would have a hard time surviving out there. Luckily though, most of the enemy fire is focused on us, so the two can do some cleanup behind our backs while we draw attention. Once the mech shields are down, we don't want to forget to switch over to incendiary or more accurately inferno ammo, that way we can then also get rid of its armor fairly quickly. This nice block of cover here allows for a bit of cat and mouse while we strip away at the mech's protection, and once both shields and armor have been removed, taking it out is not too difficult.
About to get hot.
All that we're left with now are a few more of Ronald Taylor's personal guards, but they didn't bother us while we were busy fighting the mech, so they should also not be a problem now that we can focus all of our attention on them.
Enough with the toys. I need to look my father in the eye and hear him justify this.
The gate here opening up in front of us, that marks the exit towards Ronald Taylor himself. Before we leave though, we want to make sure to grab both the Element Zero container as well as the credits from the PDA. But once we have everything, it is then indeed time for the grand finale of this mission.
You're here. I knew a real squad would blow through just fine. Sorry if the mech scuffed your pads. I'll get you something nice when we get back to Alliance space. I've got to have some back pay coming.
What about your crew, acting captain?
Total loss. The toxic food turned them wild. They propped me up here in some kind of ritual behavior. Waiting for a chance to signal has been hell.
That's the best you can do?
You let all your people talk back like that? Who are you exactly?
Well, we could go with the obvious answer to that and earn 2 Paragon points, or we could obtain 2 Renegade points first, and then grab the 2 Paragon points in another dialogue choice that opens up as a result.
Doesn't matter. You're running a very questionable setup here, Captain. Explain.
Of course. It was chaos after the crash, and the crew never really accepted me as captain. They rebelled and trapped us here. Once they started eating the toxic food, I couldn't control them. And I couldn't get to the beacon.
Just stop. We know what you did to your crew. Why let this go 10 years?
Who the hell are you?
Taylor. Lieutenant Jacob Taylor.
Jacob? My Jacob?
And here we have it, this option only appears if we go Renegade first, so now that the truth is slowly coming out, let's go with the Paragon option here.
Now everyone knows everything. I want to hear you try and justify this.
You have to understand, this isn't me. The realities of command, they change you. I wasn't ready for that. I made sure you were taught right. Before I left, I'd hoped to leave it at that.
Once again, we are confronted with a Paragon Renegade choice, but the choice is easy, and 10 years is way too long to justify any of this.
I'm not unreasonable, Captain, but 10 years? What happened?
God damn it! Why did you do this to your crew?
There was resistance to the plan. Mutiny. We had to take a hard line to keep order. And things settled down. As the decay set in, we made sure the crew were comfortable. Some even seemed happier. Ignorance is bliss, right? And they were grateful for guidance, like an instinct. Pure authority was easy, at first. Months in, the effect lowered inhibitions. They got territorial. Rank, protocol, they couldn't understand. We had to establish dominance. After a while, the perks seemed normal.
That's it? You created a harem and played king? 10 years in a juvenile fantasy?
I can't point to where it all went wrong. But when the beacon was ready, revealing what happened didn't seem like a good idea.
And so long as we still have him here, we might as well ask a few questions, starting with the fate of the other officers and what exactly he did to them.
What happened to the other officers?
Anders found his conscience a little late to step back. He had an accident. Things got tense. End of the day, I was the one with the mechs. I got a little basic in setting examples. But I was kind to my people once things settled down. Seemed like I'd earned some peace.
You fought over people like they were toys. Things.
Another interesting perspective then is, even though it lasted for 10 years, the whole thing had to come to an end at some point, simply for a lack of supplies.
The stores from the ship couldn't last forever. You had to know this would end one day.
Dining for one can really stretch things out. Besides, I can think of a lot worse retirement plans than stripping down and joining the droolers. That was before the hunters, of course. Dumb or not, I'd feel it if they got their hands on me now. They want blood. I'd prefer to keep it.
It's all about you. Everything.
And speaking of the hunters, that would also be an interesting topic to explore, considering how their behavior is so radically different from that of the women.
What triggered the males to change and threaten you?
This planet has some strange cycles to it. I've seen some plants around I never saw before. Odd weather. Maybe some just adapted a little too well.
And if you treat them like animals, big shock. They become animals.
Lastly then, let's also ask about any potential obligations he might have felt towards his family, although by now it should be clear that he did not really prioritize those.
You didn't feel any responsibility to get out of here for the sake of family?
I gave him a good start. He was a smart kid and was better off not following me. We figured that out a long time before I took jobs in deep space. And after things escalated here, it seemed best to just disappear off the galactic map.
Till you needed someone to save your ass.
Alright, another morality choice, and both options at the top here give Paragon points, but I'm not too keen on focusing on the whole eye for an eye revenge thing, so let us instead try to do good here, as far as we can at least.
We can help these people. Cerberus can have ships here in days and pull everyone out.
He's not worth the fuel to haul him out or the air he's breathing. He's damn lucky I don't think he's even worth pulling the trigger. I don't know who you are, because you're not any father I remember.
Now, this right here is the big choice deciding the outcome of the mission. The two options at the bottom would ultimately result in the death of Ronald Taylor, but our Commander Shepard is, at least for the most part, a law-abiding citizen, so let's grab 15 Paragon points here and put this man behind bars.
We'll secure him for an alliance court. For every year here, he'll have 10 to think about it.
Give him all the time in the galaxy. The man who did this doesn't know right from wrong.
I'm sorry, Jacob. I did the best I could.
I'm 10 years past believing that.
And there you have it, that is Jacob's loyalty mission completed. We earn enough experience points to advance to level 18, and since Jacob is now loyal to us and has no more distractions on his plate, we also unlock the Ghost of the Father achievement. Jacob has also unlocked his loyalty power, Barrier, and a new outfit is also available for him. Apart from that, we collected the heavy pistol damage upgrade for a 10% damage increase for the entire squad, as well as 30,000 credits and 500 units of Element 0. And that more or less completes the mission. Let's head back to the Normandy for a debriefing.
Alliance ships are inbound to secure Captain Taylor and his crew, Commander. We'll be long gone by the time they get here.
2 more easy Paragon points can be obtained here, so let's grab those. We can never have enough.
Don't even give him the taillights.
Roger that.
What do you mean it wasn't you?
Jacob, if I had leaked the information about the Gernsback, I would be smiling at your resolution of the situation. I am not smiling.
Now, when we obtained this mission, there were some hints regarding a potential involvement of the elusive man, and honestly, if I was Shepard, I would still suspect as much, so for lack of a Paragon choice, let's go Renegade this time and remain skeptical.
Really? Because given the result, it feels like something you'd have your hands in.
You know very little about me, Shepard. Don't presume to understand my intentions. Cerberus is ultimately about humanity. My people are valuable to me.
Fine, you didn't forward it, so who did?
I did.
Well, that confirms at least parts of our suspicions, but Miranda's motives remain a bit unclear at this point, so for 2 more free Renegade points, let's ask her about her reasons for it.
Was this supposed to be a favor, or did you just want to see him squirm?
What he did with it was his own business. There was a time when it mattered to you. Sending this along seemed like keeping an old promise. I keep my promises.
Miranda, we'll discuss your liberal interpretation of security protocol in private. Shepard, Jacob.
And being the good commander that we are, we do of course care about our crew, and considering what he just experienced, Jacob might not be holding up too well.
You good with this, Jacob?
It's all bull, Shepard. Captain Taylor can rot in prison. Doesn't change who I am or what I know. I've already mourned the man he used to be. I guess he was a good enough father that even he can't screw up what he taught me.
Alright, that is good to hear. However, Miranda's role in all of this might also be on his mind, so let's make sure that is not going to cause any complications in the future either.
You had no idea Miranda was behind this?
No, she's got a good memory. Selective, but good. I haven't thought about those days in a long time. Can't figure which promise she meant, though. Not sure I really want to know. She requires a better man than I.
Alright then, looks like Jacob will be alright, at least he says as much, and for now, believing him is really all that we can do.
Come on, we've got work to do.
Aye, Commander. Shepard, thanks for the help.
And let's wrap up this mission with 2 more Paragon points. Not only do we want to be a good commander, but this is of course also a completionist playthrough, so of course we're glad to tick off another mission on our checklist.
Anytime, Jacob.
And here we are, with Jacob's loyalty mission completed, and I think with that we have reached the end of today's episode. As a result of completing this mission, Jacob will of course have a few new bits of dialogue available for us, but I would say we'll listen to those in the next episode. For now, let us make the cut right here. As always, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, then I would be happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course subscribe if you haven't done so already. Alternatively, you can also support the Pete Complete Patreon and brand new, gain access to the Pete Complete Discord with your pledge as well. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.